Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to RemyFIT Radio, where you can learn my philosophies on health, performance, and lifestyle optimization that I have learned from the years of experience as a health and performance coach. I'm your host, Brandon Remy, and let's get into it. All right, what's up, everyone? We are live here with Wade Wicks, and he's going to tell. So I want you to kind of give the audience a background about you. Like I was telling you before the podcast, we're going to get into today more so about what you thought the fitness industry was, like before you were in it, how you think it is while you're in it, and obviously now, a couple of years down the line, like how it shifted.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be on Remy Radio here today.
Anytime.
So I first started with lifting on my own when I was, 16 or maybe even 15. But when I got into the industry, it was 2007 when I went in for a dream interview for my job, a dream job at New York Sports Club as a personal trainer. And the lady was a little kooky. We found out later it wasn't probably that legal for her to hire me at 17 years old, but I didn't really know that at the time. They sent me into New York City for a big NASM Foundations thing. I don't think they do that anymore, because when I talked to the NASM big dogs and I was like, do you guys remember NASM Foundations? And they're like, yeah. Why would you bring that up? Kind of like it's not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
But I went into the city for 3 days. I got kind of like a boot camp about the personal training principles that we know and studied to get our certifications, but I got it in a crash course back then. Mm-hmm. And that was enough for me to clean weights, do basic personal training, just hang out in the gym and help people out. And this meant a lot to me because I wasn't really the best employee at the time. You can easily have the wrong type of boss that rubs you the wrong way, and suddenly you want to do stuff that's not really good employee type of stuff. But when I became a personal trainer, I really felt a sacred calling to just directly work with a client that was just trying to make their own life better. They were trying to envision a greater hope for themselves. In that case, always in the gym, every time, always training usually. We could help with nutrition a little bit, but at 17 years old, I wasn't trying to get too involved in people's nutrition, mostly just the training. And now we know to talk about sleep, we talk about mindset, we talk about stress, a lot of stuff we now know it in 2021, but in 2007, it was like
different game.
It was a very different game. Yeah, it was easy to be taking no explode.
Yeah,
and just spending hours in the gym for no reason.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I got in basically a little after that. I mean, I'm trying to think. Like 2007, I was in 8th grade, so that's like when I started working out, and then I think I got certified first in 2012, so it was a little bit after that. But still, same thing. It was like, I kind of look at it the same way as like the CrossFit industry. Like when CrossFit first started, like you can get away with having a shitty gym. Like, you know, you're coming to the garage, you're coming to work out. But like now if you go to a CrossFit gym and like there's dirt on the floor, you're like, what the fuck is this
Not
place?
cool anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like everything kind of like leveled up. And it's like same thing like personal training. Like you used to be able to just basically like count reps and like, you know, we're going to do this exercise and that exercise. And like now it's like evolved to like kind of like what, like the path that me and you are on. Like we're not just coaches. I mean, we are, but we're not like just in the gym coaches. We're, you know, lifestyle coaches, mindset, sleep, like you said, nutrition, all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if we didn't know that useful word coach, you would almost look at it as a guardian of somebody's growth.
No, definitely.
It's like somebody says to themselves, kind of like a message in a bottle, like an SOS. They're basically saying to their future self, I wish that I could find the skills or the discipline or the approach or the strategy or the method to make it so that I could fulfill what I want to fulfill. And they start off with this pure desire before anything goes wrong, before they have their first obstacle, before their bicep hurts after that one exercise, before this long list of stuff that demotivates somebody. They start off with this pure intention, and they find us, and they say, basically, can you help me get there? So as you said, it ends up having so much more than the customer or the client originally thought was involved in it, and more than we knew when we were getting into sort of like just fitness. Yeah. Just like a Lego build yourself approach versus what we know now, where everything is so holistic and integrated, and it's impossible to see details without seeing the whole picture.
Definitely. And I don't know about you, but at least when I got into it, I was kind of like, I don't even know how to explain it. Forget that.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
I don't even remember where I was going with that. I was thinking of something, and then all right, so getting, you know, you got into the fitness industry in 2007.
Yeah.
Like what did you think fitness was back then? Because I mean, like, as you know, like what you think fitness is now versus then is probably, I'm assuming, two totally different things.
Yeah, it changes. It definitely changes. It's true. Let's see. I think at the very, very beginning, I probably looked at it as a healthier outlet. You know, it's so easy at young ages like that to like spend your actual human existence getting yourself into trouble and destroying yourself or something.
Right.
And it is such a downward spiral of like Pac-Man going towards the cement. And so fitness and working out and these sorts of ways of letting aggression out and letting growth become something that I invite into my daily or weekly routines. It was like a life changer, but it was also a life changer that I sort of took for granted, because I could easily get into it and get all into it and feel better, and then feel better enough so that like my mindset floats and my focus gets blurry again, or something else drags me away from it. And I wasn't good back then at skills like multitasking, like I at least pretend that I am now. So it was like half lifesaver, but also half confusing. For my first few years as a coach, I would tell somebody, if you're new to getting passionate in health, fitness, and nutrition, the number one welcome that I would say to you is welcome to the argument. Yeah. We're all having a real big argument, and you're now here too. Yep. So we're
my philosophy versus yours.
Yeah, exactly.
That's basically the fitness industry 101.
Drink milk every day or drink milk never once.
Yep.
This is what we're just debating.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thing to really think about, is that, like, I mean, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think now, like, if you think about any other field in any industry, there's usually a right way and a wrong way to do things. Like, if you build a house, like, there's a right way to put up a wall and there's a wrong way.
I want you to have done it the right way.
Yeah, exactly. But like in like the health and fitness world, there's no real right or wrong way. There's like what you think is right, what I think is right, and then there's like blends, combinations of all of that. There's like, because that's the one thing like I've always said to people is that it doesn't matter what diet you follow. As long as you follow one and stick to it, because they're all going to work eventually, Obviously, we could sit here and argue about that, what diet is better for,
which is annoying. It's a very annoying way to spend a health podcast.
Exactly.
A lot of people do it.
Exactly. But regardless, if you just pick a diet and follow it, chances are it's going to work better than what you were previously doing.
Yeah.
So, but I just always thought of it, it's like kind of odd how, like, our jobs are not like, oh, this is how it is and this is how it's done. It's like, well, this is how I do it. This is how, we think it's done here. But that's up for discussion. That's up for debate. Like, I mean, think about like functional patterns. Like, it's a relatively new, training philosophy that came out, and basically he's against every other fucking thing in the world. You know, which, like, I don't personally like that aspect of functional patterns, but I like their movements and how they, integrate the full body, and you're not just squatting with just your legs. Like, you're using everything to squat. But it just like. It's just weird how, like, health and fitness is the only, like, there's no right answer.
Yeah. It's almost like there's, like, barbarian tribes.
Yeah.
Just arguing.
Yes.
Like, they're, like, vegan only forever.
Yeah.
And, like, there's,
and then
like,
you got carnivore.
You got Joe Rogan. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just.
Or, like, Jordan Peterson on a literally carnivore diet.
Yeah, full carnivore.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, have you ever tried?
Full carnivore?
Yeah.
I haven't done that, but if I was cheating, I would tell you that there was times where I've done fasting with just bone broth. So if I wanted to like squeak that in and pretend that
I'm
counts,
a carnivore.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
But no. I've never not consumed other food groups too. Just exclusively on it.
Yeah, that's interesting. How do you like bone broth?
Oh, I actually love bone broth. I'm a big fan of Kettle and Fire.
Yeah,
I'm really a big fan.
Buy it made.
I do.
Nice.
They've been sending that. There's probably been a time or two where I wish that I canceled my monthly subscription because I'm like, you guys got me. Yeah. But then it gets there and I'm like, but I really am gonna drink it though. So you guys are like my overbearing aunt or something that just keeps sending me more broth.
Bone broth is delicious. I mean, I drink it pretty often. I make it myself. Obviously, I have plenty of bones to go through.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever tried people. I don't
like slow simmered and stuff. It's pretty damn good. And they're actually branching off into like actual full scale soups and whatnot. It's pretty cool, especially if you're doing the liquid only thing, or if you're fasting and you're trying to keep your focus or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things. Like we were just talking about the rules and the different tribes. One of the ones that's popped out these last few years that I'm actually a big fan of, but I don't get as fruit punchy about it, is intermittent fasting. Because I love its principles, but if I'm going to have a fast and I'm just going to consume some calories like bone broth, I'm totally happy with it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
like, I'm aware that there's a strict person out there who's like, not 1 calorie.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that. It's,
Right.
it's like what you're saying. There's a balanced approach. Like, as strange as it is that fitness is like a really big dark room where a few people were given flashlights and they ran off in real different directions and they don't want to hear about each other.
Right.
Which is why there's powerlifting over here, yoga over here, and vegan and carnivore over here.
Yep.
And these communities that can't necessarily talk to each other without not making a lot of sense and refuting each other's points.
Right.
The best approach in a situation like that is to take a little bit of light from over here, a little bit of light from over here, create your own personal lantern, and then you're rocking and rolling. There's almost nothing better. It's almost what we're all trying to get you to.
Yeah.
Is
No,
some level of
exactly.
independence like that.
100%. And I mean, that's literally, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that. That's exactly what I do with like myself personally and my clients. Like if you come to me and I mean, I wouldn't personally work with a powerlifter, but like if you're a fan of powerlifting, you want to be strong. Like I have clients that come in here and some of them deadlift. I have clients that never will pick up a barbell ever in their life, you know?
Of course.
And I use a blend of everything. Like, it's like oh shit. Little hiccups on the first episode. I pick up what works and I kind of just leave what doesn't. And I mean, it's for me, that's across the board. That's nutrition wise. Like I've tried plenty of diets over the years. And now I think I'm at kind of a mix between, I kind of make fun of a lot of people. So it's kind of a mix between like a vegan carnivore, like paleo keto diet.
Right.
You know? And it's just like, it's the little bits and pieces of each of them that I like. And I made it my own. And that's, like I said, that's how I train. Like, that's how I think about jiu-jitsu. Like I train like mainly at Freedom. Like Freedom is like what I consider my home gym. And then, like maybe like once a week or twice a month, I'll go to Breathe Jiu-Jitsu in Bayport. I've been recently going to Long Island MMA on Saturdays. So like I get these little bits and pieces of information from different coaches. Like I just think of it as a big puzzle.
To create an integrated approach.
Exactly.
That's the smartest thing you can do.
Exactly.
That's beautiful because like even though you're a hybrid that maybe like the vegans will not commission, they're not like, yeah, we're so proud of Brandon and all he's done.
Yeah.
Because they're watching your carnivore meal 2 hours later and they're like, no, never again. But in a situation of total insanity, that balanced, stable approach is like, it's really like the holy grail. Most clients don't know how to ask for that, but that's actually what they want.
Right.
Is even if it doesn't resemble the Brandon method, when they take your amazing skills and your evergreen approach, they're left with their own opportunity to create logical solutions and conclusions that work for their lifestyle. And what's better than that?
Exactly.
Like there's people who go to the big stencils, the big templates, like Weight Watchers. I shouldn't have said it, but I said it.
That's
like
it.
Weight Watchers, for example, is going to say, hey guys, we will haunt you like a big ghost that watches every meal that goes in. And rather than educating you about nutrition, we're going to teach you about arbitrary points.
Right.
And these arbitrary points are the best way to like quantify your entire nutritional existence without learning anything. And we're also going to invite you to come in and get publicly weighed so that you could talk about your like cheat meal and this is how we do it.
Right.
And as helpful as that is, even though it sounds horrible when you think of it that way, which is what it is, like as good or bad as that is, the second that somebody loses the artificial structure of a system like that, they fall on the floor and they're very upset about it. And sometimes they're mad at Weight Watchers, not for the right reasons.
Right.
They're mad at Weight Watchers because the system went away, but they're not mad at Weight Watchers why they should be, which is that they paid Weight Watchers for 10 or 11 or 12 months, never learned a thing about nutrition, got some food that was probably really fake processed food with calorie counts that are deceptive, we'll just say. And now the only way that they know how to take control over their health is through this middleman that doesn't truly serve them.
Right. I'm allowed 50 points today. Well,
right.
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What happens next is we could be like, it's an Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode.
Yeah.
Like the journey to 50 points.
Yeah. I was never a fan of Weight Watchers for their, I mean, obviously there's a few reasons, but my main reason is like they're a sellout. Like they fucking sell meals. They're not like, it's not like if you're like, say you were a nutritionist and you have, say Weight Watchers, right? And you have like a Facebook group that's like aimed at helping people learn about watching their weight.
Totally.
Like that's probably how it started, I'm assuming.
I'd hope.
I'd hope, exactly.
Yeah, you're probably doing them a big favor by pretending that that's how it started.
Yeah. But like now it's a business, which I understand everything at one point has to be a business, but it's like you're a sellout for selling these fucking cheap, shitty meals that are loaded with sodium, loaded with God knows
artificial
what,
nonsense, fake ingredients,
and and they come frozen, and it's like that's not real nutrition. Like if you talk to any nutritionist, I don't think that they would agree that Weight Watchers is the way to go lose weight.
You're right. That's true. Well, they will in one situation, and in the one situation that they would ever prescribe something like that would be when somebody is just a pure, straight, across-the-board overeater who doesn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So in other words, like the person who almost doesn't want to be reached at all is the only person who should even consider Weight Watchers, because Weight Watchers is not health as a highway to abundance. It's like emergency, in case of emergency, break glass.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting out of control. You're on your way to 600 pounds. Weight Watchers is the only way to stop this. Stop this black hole of eating, which is kind of an uncommon problem, I think. I'm not saying that there's not people who obviously deal with that, because in that scenario, Weight Watchers is probably a real lifesaver. But that conversation to us probably feels trivial and shallow, because the reason that Weight Watchers has such an approach is that every personal trainer and every approach has a burden to define what health is and therefore how we should track the change. Like I was never a big fan of calipers, putting calipers on somebody's belly fat and saying, Mrs. Jones, what are you eating ice cream and not telling me? That is not my style.
Right.
But it's an approach, and it's a delta metric. It's how we can track the change. Weight Watchers only cares about that scale. So they only care about those calorie counts. So they don't care about the quality of those calories, which puts them in a situation like Walmart would be, which is that if this is how we get the job done for the least cost, what would stop us from doing it?
Right.
The answer is nothing. Like if somebody said, Weight Watchers, why don't you put more spirulina and expensive organic turkey in your meals? They're going to look at you like you're crazy, like you don't understand business. And if they placed their metrics differently, they might have to confront that differently. But they don't. It's about losing 65 pounds in 3 months. Yep. It's about these crazy things you see on the internet from one person who hopefully did it the right way, but you don't know that they did.
Right.
And you now give all of this credit to like a basic user of the system, when that is so not the basic scenario. And I think that's the problem that a lot of these run into, is that marketing almost breaks fitness, because marketing has told us that you could be like authentic as hell and not necessarily speak to the most desperate person in the room. Whereas if you speak to the most desperate person in the room, your marketing will make your thing explode. Like if you were to say like, not only do you get to work with Brandon Remy of Remy Radio in a private facility totally dedicated towards your goals, not only all of that, which is an authentic, legitimate value proposition, not only all of that, but I'll also take down 30 pounds in just 2 weeks of just training 3 times per week. And you can already feel it. You can already feel like, oh my God, that sounds too good to be true. Click on the link to learn more.
Right.
And these are the ones that get explosive in our industry. These are the ones that are like Pac-Man, that speak to people with a desperate kind of unethical way and put these really unreasonable expectations in people's minds. When in the long run, it's more valuable to be where you're sitting right now and say, I like what I eat. I know what I eat. I like how I sleep. I like how I rest. I like how I train. You've got it all figured out in a lot of ways. You've got your approach down. Like Michael Phelps believes he's got it worked out, and to be an Olympic swimmer, he most certainly does. I don't want to do that.
No.
So he's got that figured out, and everybody gets their own subjective legacy in health. And it's really kind of depressing to see an approach sell something that doesn't resemble that at the end of the day.
Well, I think it also goes back to like, I mean, kind of what we were originally talking about like how the fitness industry is changing, and like that's kind of the old school method of like selling shit, like P90X. Like if you think about like all those, I mean, actually I got to say P90X was pretty good. Yeah. I mean,
for its workouts that are
like it wasn't intelligently put together, but
it's got some really it's got some roller coasters.
Yeah.
It's got some like, wow.
Yeah.
And then there it is. Like you get to say like, where'd you get that exercise? P90X.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's still talking to you that type of way. It's still talking to somebody on their couch as they watch like the infomercial.
Salesy. Well, that's it. Infomercial. Infomercial.
Very.
And you know, that's kind of the old school way. And like we're learning now, it's that helps to a degree, like you said, if people are in dire need. But like, I would argue, and I'm sure you would too, that most people are not 600 pounds overweight. Like,
Agreed.
they're,
Yep.
you know, maybe 20 to 100 pounds overweight, you know, like in that range.
Totally.
Where it's like they're not too far gone to like have to rely on something like Weight Watchers or something like that, you know, like they are at that perfect stage to work with a coach or a guide, to better health and to learn. Like, that's the thing, is to really learn, like to just really learn. That's it, you know, and not to be told what to do and then just do it, you know, like
Totally.
today, like you came here and showed me how to use this. Like I was expecting to learn, not for you to show me, because now when I go to podcast later tonight, I'm gonna be like, well, I don't fucking know what he did. Like, he pressed a couple buttons.
Right, that's
and, like,
not valuable.
You know,
Right,
it's
exactly.
like I'm like, it'd be like paying you to come here and set this up, and then me not even being here.
Right.
You know, it's like, well, what the fuck was the point?
Yeah.
It's like, now I got to pay you every time.
And that's interesting too, because if we were to read a like historical book about our industry of health and even coaching and wellness, we would see that there's really almost two different customers, and there really are two different pitchers. And when we see even our infomercials, we're seeing this like ancient history still illustrating itself. And you'll know it the second that I say it, which is that there are snake oil salesmen, and then there's actual prescriptions for fitness, nutrition, and programs for work and stuff. And the history is that this magic pill is immediately going to change your entire life, but you don't need to do anything different. And that is like, this is like a traveling salesperson going town to town, giving people an elixir that's supposed to be an antidote to their other options, let's just say, with their health. Now, obviously, now we can go to a grocery store and have more control over our nutrition than ever. We used to think we had to go to the gym, but now with COVID-19, we can go anywhere that we want. We could do anything that we want. We're figuring out public parks. We got all these new solutions. You could look on the internet and see people working out in parking lots with things that we wouldn't have thought of. Yep. I saw a guy pulling a truck, just thinking to myself, like, he's just doing this like it's a rest set. He's going to pull his own truck.
Yeah.
And our options are more than we've ever thought. And so this person in like thousands of years ago is looking at this elixir in a way that you're not looking at these things now, because we're empowered. There's really two systems in this whole thing. There's disempowering systems where they say your choices are going to break you in half. So you need to have restrictions on your choices with our prescribed method, and then you'll succeed for a while as long as you keep paying us monthly.
Yep.
And then there's empowering systems, which look a lot more like ladders, where you have to build every single piece of the ladder, but then you also have to climb it.
Yep.
And that's what people don't always want to sign up for on day one when they don't have the appropriate confidence in themselves. And that's how this marketing stuff really takes a lot of opportunity away from people.
Definitely. And that's like we were saying before, is that's the old school way of doing it, is teaching people to need you and not teaching people to basically not need you. Like, like that's one thing that I'm pretty like, you know, that I try and do this for all of my clients, is that they shouldn't need to come here to work out. Well, I mean, I guess maybe in quarantine they kind of
that changes things a bit, yeah.
But they shouldn't need to come here, or they shouldn't need me. I should rephrase that. They shouldn't need me to work out. They should want me to be here showing them how to work out. You know, like, so that's the way I always think of it. Like, I don't want to build my clients to be like, oh, you know, Brandon's on vacation this week. Like, he's hunting for a week.
There goes my goals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Now I can't work out.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like, whatever, quarantine, perfect example. Like, oh, fucking gyms are shut down for a year. Like, what do I do? You know, it's like, what do you mean, what do you do? Like I teach you all these things that you can do every single day.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally.
And I think that's the new way of looking at it, is, you know, teaching people to not need you, but want you. And then teaching like the old school, you know, you teach a man to fish, or you could teach him how the fuck does it go?
If you teach a man to fish, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime.
Exactly.
And you're right. That's totally relevant on this. That's a bullseye.
Yeah. So I think that's the way that the fitness industry is like changing, you know, more like in home, like, oh, you can do it yourself, you know, not like, oh, you have to come to our gym 5 days a week, you know, and it's just like, and pay us X amount of dollars per month, you know. It's like, yeah, you're going to pay me like that's the one big thing. Like, we both went through the 023 program, is that it's like the last program ever that you'll never need another one. You're not going to hire a nutritionist after this. You're not going to, you might hire a personal trainer,
Mm-hmm.
but like you're gonna have all the answers.
Yeah.
And that's like how I like to coach. That's how I do my online training. And that's kind of what this whole podcast is going to be about, is to give people those different areas of fitness, different ways to get healthy, and not like, oh, I have to go to the gym today. Because, I mean, let's face it, like, not everyone likes to go to the gym. There are people who are literally going to the gym because they think that they have to, and like, it's sad to say, but those people are the people who don't succeed.
You're right. That's true.
So
and
it's
that's a terrible perspective in anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, it goes even like, if you think about like kids sports, it's like the kids that are really good are the kids that want to be there, not the kids that have to be there because their parents fucking get the fuck in the car. We're going to practice,
totally.
Like, I mean, we've both coached kids before, and it's like, those are the kids that don't want to fucking be there at all.
Yeah.
It's the kids who show up early, like, do all their warm ups. Like, you could tell those kids are into it, and it's because it's not being forced down their throat, just like the gym is to, like everyday people.
Yeah. And that's an interesting one too, is that when we really start to study motivation, it's one of those many things that as coaches, you start off that it's just nuts and bolts and barbells, and we're getting really, really like data driven only on the biology stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that for a while, but as you examine the deeper elements of our career, of our profession, you start to realize that there's a lot of factors that play into your client's success that are not so immediate in the eye. And when we look at our certifications, before I found O23, there's a lot of certifications that barely touch the surface, and you're forced to sort of connect the dots yourself and wonder to yourself how these things apply. O23 did incredible at at stitching it all together. But even before thinking of things that way, what happens when somebody has excessive extrinsic motivation, like mom and dad saying, Caleb, you need to go play soccer because if you don't play soccer, you can't pay for college. Wow, you know what? Believe it or not, Caleb actually started off liking soccer. Yeah. But when you keep on giving Caleb this mantra, Caleb starts to have this terrible time. So we as coaches have then a decision. We can either mirror the parents' behavior and be a real hard ass and remind this kid that he's going to have a life of poverty and no education if he doesn't play soccer right now the right way. Or you can meet the kid on his level and give that kid a parameter for success that day that allows them to hit all of their targets, but without suffering and throwing themselves through it, because there's a momentum to that. If you motivated yourself yesterday with your most fearful, stressful emotions and you got an A+, the tragic part is you might have just trained yourself to do something over an entire lifetime that might not serve you so well in the future.
Yeah.
It actually might be the wrong way of getting to the correct result. And you're going to have a horrible time if you continue to motivate yourself that way and hurt the process, and then you still don't get what you want in the outcome. Because really, as personal trainers, if we eliminate a lot of the details, there really is only two things that we manage. Wow, right? Because we have a really complex field. So what's going to come out of my mouth next?
Yeah.
It's really just the process and the outcome.
Yep.
Our process is, does this person think like, oh no, Brandon's going to guilt the hell out of me because I had one vodka tonic 3 days ago? Is Brandon going to look me in the eye and say, you idiot scumbag, you destroyed your own progress? Or is Brandon going to be like, all right, whatever, let's get to training?
Exactly.
That's a huge difference, because when people start to have a perception that becomes just as important as what's really going to effing happen. And it's tragic when you're dealing with a child client, because if their parents have that wrong fear that they're pushing into them, it can be really, really hard for the kid to protect their own passion for the sport that they started off with. But even us, as whether we're working with adult athletes or whether we're working with somebody who is challenging themselves to be as inspiring outside of the gym as they are inside of the gym, demotivating stuff happens no matter what. And if your process becomes a process of like kicking your own ass to get the right result, not only do you start to hate your life, you actually might be way less proficient than you could have been if you didn't see things that way.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because I just recorded a podcast the other day about how like the process is the goal, and like for you to get to the goal, you have to fall in love with the process.
Totally.
And it kind of goes along with what we're talking about right now. Like for you to get to the goal, if you hate, if your parents are making you, or whatever, if you think that you have to go to the gym, you're going to hate that. You're going to be like, oh, fuck, it's Wednesday, it's 8 o'clock at night. Like, I don't want to go to the fucking gym.
Yeah.
Like for me, jiu-jitsu, like I cannot wait to go to practice every single time. Like I can, in the last like 2 years, I think maybe like 2 or 3 times I was like, fuck, I really don't want to go to practice right now. But like, actually I think 2 times, because one time I did and I was like, that was, good, good call.
Good that you did it.
And then the one time I didn't go to practice, I was like, fuck, I probably should have went. So it's like, it's finding things that you enjoy to do. And like, that's what I was saying is like, the gym is not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Some people either just don't like it or just, it's not for them,
Well, you know what might be
reason.
a difference there? I think that this is a really deep concept, but trying to boil it down to think about what the difference is that you, Brandon, real person here on earth who's done jiu-jitsu and wrestling for so long and made such a strong career out of athleticism and out of personal training and professional guidance, you've now developed a strong track record, and self-respect comes with that, where you realize that you can sort of stick it out and your life actually gets better and you're proud of yourself, you're happy, and it actually creates more of that.
Yeah. Whereas
a lot of people, I'm just joking when I say this, a lot of people have habits more like Homer Simpson, where they think they get off work and they want that beer really bad, they want that donut really bad. I am not judging that, but I am saying that there is a certain appeal to continuing a cycle like that.
Yeah.
So when that cycle is in motion, they don't have 8 years of like honorable slaughtering fools on the mat. They have 8 years of struggling and fighting with themselves to even do the bare minimum that's good for them. And so every single day is like a constant battle with that dragon. Yeah. And it's horrifying for them. And that's why, unfortunately, like going back to our marketing thing, that is like what they would call a pain point. You're pushing the button of somebody who hasn't found that solution yet.
Right.
And that's what drives everybody crazy. Because if somebody might not come in on day one and be like, Brandon, I need you to help me be a international black belt, like throat ripper. Like, I need you to make me the best.
Yeah.
Most people on day one are not going to say something like that. On day one, they don't know how to ask for it. Mm-hmm. They're asking, though, to gain this level of self-respect, independence, and develop momentum in the right direction. And as coaches, in that really deep, in the deeper, broader context, as coaches, we're really talking about the difference between scarcity loops, where you're looping this bad behavior that creates bad consequences, and it goes and goes and goes like a rat on a treadmill that doesn't know how to get off of it, versus abundance loops, or I kind of really like to say victory loops, where you're continuously hitting your targets and you're gaining a better proficiency to apply yourself towards future targets. And it's pretty marvelous. It's really like, I really think that like it brings you closer with the person you're supposed to be, your higher calling. And that's not me telling you how to live, unlike somebody like maybe at Weight Watchers or something, because your version of that might be playing guitar every day in a freaking public city in Massachusetts, or you could be like Michael Phelps in it and hitting the pool every day, doing something I really don't understand until you got the gold medal. But no matter what it is, there's something amazing that happens with the compound interest of exerting yourself. And what's so sad is that a lot of times these alternative approaches that are disempowering, what they're trying to sell you is they're trying to sell you all the benefits or more than you would typically get without the exertion. And that's why they're always going to fall on their face and break their nose, and they're always going to piss people off because people trust them and they go through it and they say, I took your pill every single day for 12 years, mostly like 12 months, but 12 years, let's just say. Yep. I never got the six pack. I was telling all my friends, you guys are suckers for going to the gym because I'm taking this great pill, Hydroxycut. I'm taking it every day and I'm going all out. And they're telling me that I am going to look like John Stamos and David Hasselhoff. I'm going to look like them both together combined on like year 12. And that's all I'm going to do. And it's so sad because these 12 years that went by, 12 months probably, they could have gone towards anything else in the world. You could have done anything. You could have cared about a thing. Right. You could have taken something and continued to nurture that. And you would have gone through a really human experience. Like, it really mirrors the hero's journey. The hero's journey is this concept from like the 20s or something. And like, I know that guy's name. I can't think of it right now. But he's basically saying every story we've ever heard pretty much follows this structure of a hero pretty much getting his ass kicked or her ass kicked, continuously on belief of a dream that is bigger than their original calling. And holy moly, like fitness and health and coaching and all of these things are like a direct, it's like a scalpel that cuts through the curtain that prevents you from seeing that. So you know how much potential your clients have. Right. They need you to remind them sometimes because you're a professional in this, but you know how much potential that they have and you know what they could achieve if they really exerted themselves for 3 or 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. That is something they're never going to get from a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter system.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah, I mean, that's right on the money right there. So let's change gears a little bit.
Yeah,
And
totally.
I want to talk about let's talk about obviously you have a podcast, right?
I do. Yeah.
And let's just dive into all that. Like I mean, I know you're a busy guy. You're always you got the camera rolling.
Always doing something.
You know.
Yeah.
So let's let the listeners know what you're up to and where they can find you and all that.
So you can find me soon. It'll be on like the Apple Store and wherever you can find podcasts. I ended up having to call it the Wade Wicks Show. I was originally going to name it. I don't really like the sort of Tony Robbins thing where I put it on my own name, because it's really important for me to let you know I have nothing to do with your success. I am just a coach and a friend.
Yeah, that was my problem. Is I didn't want to call it RemyFIT Radio right off the bat, because it's like these aren't my ideas. Like, I want this to be other people's ideas. I'm just the dude with the fucking microphone who's asking questions.
Right,
you know, so I felt the same exact way. I 100%. Didn't want to call it that, and then like I really didn't know what to call it, so I was like, whatever, fuck it, I'll just call it RemyFIT Radio.
You got to. I was looking. I was now. I like to like kind of brag that I'm not a perfectionist who takes a damn long time procrastinating, but on this one I suck. On this one I was trying so long to postpone what I do until I find my name and get it going. And I had all these great ideas to build some of my brands, and one after another, my podcast names were too similar to podcasts that already exist. And I was just like, I don't want to do that to them.
It's the worst.
I don't want to do that to myself or them. So I had to do the Wade Wicks Show. It's actually pretty exciting because, as Brandon did just say, I sort of have a unique takeaway to the principles of coaching that I've learned over the last decade. And my takeaway is essentially that if I make a goal specific with the skills we know, SMART goals and all that stuff, and I make it specific, and I apply the principles of periodization so that over a 12-week time frame, I can continue with realistic development metrics. Again, I'm not putting a caliper on myself when I'm trying to get a master's degree or something. It's not relevant. I have to constantly create new delta metrics and manage my growth through those. So my point is, right now, I am all over the place. What I've done this time is I've actually moved the cones of what I'm trying to learn further apart than they've ever been in my life.
Okay.
So I've done, I like self-education and all that great stuff, but today my sort of field of duties until the end of March is, as Brandon said, I really am usually walking around town with a camera or a microphone right now. I'm trying to teach myself all new levels of high-level communication so that I can sort of get the message out there to more people about your capabilities, your potential. My sort of tagline for Werewolf University, my personal development brand, is unleash your transformational strength. And Werewolf University is not personal training. I also have Werewolf Personal Training. Werewolf Personal Training is all about it's what you would think it would be. It's fitness, it's nutrition. We'll do a little light mindset, probably like sports psychology type of mindset, no excuses sort of stuff. But Werewolf University is to unleash a different type of strength. It's unleashing, I like to say, beyond the barbell. It's the strength for you to do exactly what I'm doing and apply the principles that we're all really, really good at as coaches and as personal trainers and in other fields as well, teachers in the self-education context, and to apply those principles to get more out of life based on what you really want to achieve rather than sitting around and letting your goals perish. So right now, I pretty much signed up for, I filled my plate pretty much like a Golden Corral, like my last meal at a Golden Corral before the electric chair is wheeled out to me.
Yeah.
But realistically, I know that that's a good thing, and that's why the Wade Wicks Show is kind of going to be a little chaotic for at least a few weeks, because I'm just going to I'll give you some cool transformational tips that I'm relying on to do so much ridiculous stuff at once. But eventually, I think I said that weird. Eventually, when the March thing is all over, I essentially want to pivot into allowing it to be cool, free content that other people are getting more robust versions of on some of my paid premium programs. And I basically just want to widely get it out there how many really, really cool secrets high performers are using every single day in order to do exactly what we mentioned when we said we were beginning in personal training. Everybody has that sacred oath to themselves to take their goals seriously. The only person who doesn't have any goals at all is the person who authentically doesn't believe in themselves in any way, shape, or form, which is tragic and potentially more than I can help. You might need a therapist or somebody who's really got the scope of practice ready for that.
Yeah.
But if you believe in yourself even like 5% and you believe that we can work on the rest and cover the gap, then that's who I'm talking to, is somebody who believes that they don't need to settle for less in life, but can ultimately continue applying the same effort and action we do in the gym to let the compound interests grow. So the Wade Wicks Show will be my journey to continue doing ridiculous stuff like that, at least for like 10 or 12 weeks. And then beyond that, I hope to be able to have more guests when I have more time. Right now, I'm actually working full time for New York City, which is something I probably wouldn't have anticipated until COVID-19 really popped up this way. So my time's potentially never been more split up and shredded. But that's probably why it's maybe a good thing in the universe that it had to be the Wade Wicks Show right now. Because if I was supposed to go and talk about more than just my own life experience, I think that I would probably not look forward to doing the podcast quite as much as I'm gonna now.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like, I mean, we're kind of in the similar boat. Like the podcast is gonna be, I'm assuming, yours is gonna be same to mine, right? Like it's gonna be some of yourself talking, some of having other guests, and kind of a mixture of both.
Yeah, but that's fair, pretty much, totally.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. I want to understand a little bit more of what your brain is thinking.
Yeah.
Because I always see on Instagram, and it's just like a million miles an hour, and it's like, damn, how does this guy keep up with all that shit? Like, because like I'll do one thing, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Damn, this is a lot.
That moment. Yeah.
And especially with technology, it's like, and that was the one crazy thing. Like, I always see you with the fucking camera, and then like on Instagram, and it's like, damn, like, dude, that gives me anxiety. like today, setting this shit up with all these wires and stuff. I'm like, fuck, like this is, it's making my head.
You wouldn't believe it, man. Like I kind of joke, like, I don't know that Werewolf University would be here without the city of Patchogue, because all these times I've had like a horrible emergency one way or another, and one way or another the city of Patchogue, like, I like to imagine that it was collective, like they all voted for it, and they're like, yeah, and he made the Grinch go away, and Christmas was saved. But realistically, it's just like a perfect example. We had all these places that I was going to shoot one day, and I was going to be applying new tools onto my rig, my workflow setup, which already I could see you're just like, how frustrating. And it is.
It's like today.
Yeah.
Today. I mean, I didn't even do anything new. It was things I already did, and I'm like, ah, shit. Like, how do I do this again?
I had to set like this big bird tripod. I had all this ridiculous stuff. And the city of Patchogue allowed me to go downstairs and have a private office and just set up camera and just work on the craft. And I like, obviously they probably, maybe they regretted it for a second, because then I'd start coming every Monday. But I'm just taking trips to my car, setting up all this stuff. And one day I was trying to learn from a mentor in that videography space. And the mentor was talking about how he had this piece, and it's a cool piece, but I would get too ridiculous to even describe what the thing does. But long story short, this piece has many wires which attach to it. And it's helpful when it's hooked up, but it's not helpful when you're setting it up and you got to break it down.
Yep.
And this guy has 2 rooms for 2 high-quality YouTube studios in his house. One for his tech channel and one for his guitar and music channel.
Wow.
He said there's nothing wrong with the hardware, but he sold it immediately after just one time needing to unhook it from one room and hook it up in the next room. And I clicked off of YouTube and I looked off into the abyss, and I was like, what am I doing to myself?
Yeah.
This is week after week of absolutely ridiculousness, and this guy's like, yeah, that was enough for me. I'm never doing it again.
Yeah, it's how I feel with the podcast. Like, every week, like last week we didn't have this mixer. We were just doing it with a USB on my computer, and now it's like we got a mixer, 4 microphones, my computer. Yeah. I'm like, this shit is crazy.
You guys got like a colony. I will go into like the Kava bar sometimes, and there's like a small like empire getting built around your table right now. You got like foreign ambassadors practically coming in here to be on the Kava cast.
Shout out to the Kava bar, Island Kava, Patchogue. But yeah, I mean, it's great there. Like so I mean, that's actually a different podcast. We're doing Jits and Tits. Shout out.
Shout out.
Yeah, so it was going to be the Kava cast. We kind of don't want to bring any negative attention to the Kava bar, so we're going to let people hate us instead of the Kava bar. But yeah, there's 6 of us, and I think like every Sunday we grow.
Yeah, it's true.
It started with 6, and then it's like, girlfriends and wives come, and then, this person comes from Jits, and then, this person invites their friend down, and then before you know it, like, we're hanging out there, and there's like 15, 20 of us, and it's like, oh, wow.
Boom arms and drone cameras.
Yeah. Well, for the podcast, we're gonna cap it at 6.
Cool. That's probably a good idea.
6 of us, and then 1 or 2, people that we're gonna have some guests on.
Totally. Totally.
So we have our 4 mics set up, and then we're gonna 3 mics for each of us, and then the 1 mic for the guests.
Thank God for the kava bar, bro.
Yeah.
Imagine needing to like tote that around and find a location every single time. Like, where will we meet?
Yeah.
That's a nightmare.
That would be terrible. We're actually meeting tonight. We're going to go over my friend Ronnie's house, and we're going to try and record there, see how that goes.
That's epic, bro.
Yeah.
That's epic.
Yeah, so they will all be on RemyFIT Radio, and so yeah, check out everything. Check it out. Check out Jits and Tits. Check out RemyFIT Radio, the Wade Wicks Show. Anything else?
Get yourself a CBD lemonade for sure.
Yeah,
the kava
definitely,
bar.
definitely.
Yeah, what I've got right now is I basically have a few different ideas. I, of course, have Werewolf personal training, so I'm happy to personal train you. I can't lie. Right now, I'm not taking on too many clients. I do the New York City thing 40 hours per week, and it sometimes ends up a little more than that. So it's been really, really a little tiny bit tough on new clients for Werewolf personal training. Werewolf University has had a kind of a hard time, too. Werewolf University is personal development, so it is definitely outside of the gym. We're talking about how growth principles common in many, many coaching approaches can help you out with achieving. I mean, realistically, how they tell you to know your customer. My customer is a visionary. My customer has a vision in their head that is way bigger than the life they're living right now. So if your only vision was that you wanted to, like, I don't know, make a slightly better grilled cheese sandwich, I am probably a little more powerful than you really need to achieve a goal like that.
Right.
But if you were talking about if you were talking about applying your full effort like it's a part-time or full-time job for multiple weeks in a row because you expected to really, really make something out of yourself that others might not have seen in you, well, then that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about applying all of these things into a collective velocity that makes it so that victory comes to you much more commonly than self-sabotage, failure, making excuses and stuff. And we've had a hard time because I'm partnered up with a really, really cool organization that is a lot like that, but they're specifically for Christian men. It's Spartan Warriors. Really cool group of people. I went to one of their things and I loved it. Great guy. And we were trying to do in-person events during COVID-19's pandemic, and that was like one after another of just crash and burn in person. But I do have my first online course, which is The Power of Choices. It is the introductory course before we really get into the heavy-hitting stuff. Werewolf University does technically have a fitness and health course in the works, but I don't recommend that for somebody right off the street, because if I can build, just like with O23 is one of the most brilliant approaches that we're hopefully going to see a lot more personal trainers doing now.
Definitely.
Which is where you're actually helping them not with their cookie cutter nonsense we talked about earlier, but to have a fortified foundation. That's really what it is. It's like, we're talking about a pyramid. It's the bottom of the pyramid. You can never fall when the base looks like that.
Right.
You're always good. And so then you can build your fancy stuff on top. Like if you want to be, a famous figure skater or something like that, you still need to have a foundation. This is not a time for bulimia and crazy Paris Hilton diets. I'm not dissing Paris Hilton. I don't know what the hell she does. But no matter what it is that you want to do that's specific to your life, you're almost never going to be harmed from a fortified foundation. And that's what O23 has offered in so many of those great ways. And the Power of Choices is similar with a lot less of the fitness element and much greater emphasis on kind of like what you would find in like a psychology and positive psychology classroom. Mm-hmm. We're going to basically be talking about your relationship between how your mind's self-talk is and how that influences the outcomes in your life. So if you're saying something to yourself like, come on, get all your stuff done today or I'll hate you, say to yourself, you're like, we have work, we got work to do. Our tagline, our number one tagline for Werewolf University is life forms around choice, which is actually like a pre-screener. Yeah, because if somebody is offended by that, get out. Like, get the hell out of here.
Right.
Because I'm never going, like, there's sometimes people I like the guy Tony Robbins. Sometimes people put too much pressure on this guy, though. They go to his thing where he gets 14,000 people. The friggin' size of my whole graduating college class. 14,000 people in the Prudential Center in New Jersey, gives you everything he's got for like 48 or 72 hours in a row. And then people are like, ooh, rah, they foaming at the mouth. They can't believe it. And then they go home for a few weeks and then they crash and burn with no discipline. And they actually blame the guy. And that's insane. So my bias to not have that same thing happen to me was, there's no Wade Wicks in Werewolf University. It's Werewolf University. My students are wolves. And the exercises are where the enthusiasm goes, because I'm going to give you these exercises and they're yours now. I could get shot in the head moments after you went through all of the exercises, and your faith was not in, you didn't lose faith because I'm not here. You've gained faith because these exercises are yours forever and will create a momentum that will allow you to take a more active role of your life. It's actually, I'm really playing on a psychology principle here, and I'm playing on something called the locus of control. And if you have a locus of control, if you're not active about it, you kind of like live like a victim of the universe. You're kind of living like you don't have any control over anything that happens, so you just complain until your life disappears, and you gradually watch your sort of like your not rights in the political sense, but your rights as an individual. Yeah, you give them away. You give them away, and you look for people to blame. But when your locus of control becomes something you take active control over, where you focus on this field of options at any given time in your life, or in personal training, what would we call that? Acute variables. Right. We're looking at all the acute variables that could be interplayed to reduce waste or risk of injury to maximize the benefit for our client. It's acute variables. Life is no different than that. Life looks like it is because life isn't as life is more broad and expansive than we can put into one personal training textbook. Yep. But at the same time, there's an amazing amount in common. And the person who's actively looking to confront challenges and find solutions is the person who's going to be successful all on their own, and that's who I'm speaking to. I just want to accelerate their process. And so that's Werewolf University. Devoid of context entertainment is what you typically see me when I'm rocking around with my microphone and stuff like that. Putting it in a real quick shotgun. I lost one of my best buddies many kind of like years ago, almost a decade, I guess. And we were in a metal band together, and he was like my best buddy. We moved from Nassau to Suffolk. We only had each other for a year there. And I was just running out of options on how I can still feel like my friends in my life, and that I still felt like I could playing in a metal band is a team sport. And when you lose your team, you lose everything. Yep. So I got into stand-up comedy and then improv comedy, and I did cool stuff back then, but I just kind of I didn't really feel like I was like scratching the itch anymore. So what I ended up doing was I ended up going all out on this video production, audio production stuff because I just want a team. I mean, that is literally the name of the band that I had with my buddy, Devoid of Context Entertainment. So number one, I feel like I'm carrying the flag that my friend's soul, I feel good about it.
Right. Still repping
the homie, still repping my buddy, still looking at the sky and feeling like I'm doing the right thing. Yep. And number two is, I mean, I need these skills anyway. I feel that all the other stuff that I do, that you do, and that we're all trying to do, you're not going to get any favors by sitting quietly in the corner and helping a client or two. We're realizing that. We might have our own personal hang-ups because everybody does. Nobody wants to go on top of the mountain and say, I know all the answers. But at the same time, wisdom is collected through experience in life. Mm-hmm. And if you can offer some wisdom, especially like this, on like a free platform that somebody can simply enjoy, I mean, shit, I wish that we existed 15 years ago. Yeah. I would have been my own fan. I would have been your fan. Yeah. I would have been happy to have Remy Radio instead of like, I don't know, like I actually will read Muscle and Fitness magazine too, but I would prefer your content. Right. It's the more that it's more genuine. It's more genuine. It's more helpful. Yep. It's more applicable to a real human being rather than like, I don't know, like a bodybuilding wannabe. And like at the end of the day, you simply taking the time to create that message and put it up for me is kind of one of the most selfless things that you could do, because you really didn't need to do anything. You really didn't need to help me. Right. But as a listener, I mean, like I could like rattle off like 10 mentors who have meant that to me, and it's all because they did exactly what we're doing right now, which is getting out of that comfort zone.
Well, that's one thing that really pushed me to make the podcast was like I've learned. I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many hours I've spent listening to podcasts. Like totally thousands of hours. Like I used to deliver pizza, and from say 5 to 9 p.m. I'd be delivering, and do 20 deliveries, and on every single delivery I was listening to a podcast, like coming there, going back. So I would listen to 3 or 4 Joe Rogan podcast type, like that length a week, long. So I was doing like, almost like 10 to 15 hours of podcasts a week. Totally. At one point I was working in the city. So that was like a nice 2-hour drive, or exactly 2 or 4 hour drive, whichever, time you leave. Yeah. So like I've learned so much on podcasts. Like, I think the biggest ones that I've learned from were Tim Ferriss off the bat. Totally. That was like the first one that I really got like addicted to. Obviously Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. Barbell Shrugged is another good one. And what the fuck's the name of it? Andy Galpin. What the fuck's his podcast?
I'm not sure.
The Body of Science.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's only like a couple episodes, but it's I think he actually just released a new like season of it. But those are like my top podcasts that I have listened to. I mean, now it's more so just Joe Rogan. I'm kind of, not that I'm getting away from learning about training, but I just feel like Barbell Shrugged it's changed from who it was. You know, like Mike Bledsoe's not on there anymore. Like there's like, you know, a bunch of different things. But like that's one thing that really pushed me to make this podcast, was just learning so much on the podcast, and like being so grateful for learning all that for free. Like,
Totally.
and especially like that was the hard part about going to Suffolk, was like, I'm like here at Suffolk learning from, I don't know, fucking Joe Schmo, and I could be listening to a podcast with literally the best people in the world.
Right.
You know, and
Totally.
it's like, I'm going to pay $3,000 for the fucking Joe Schmo, or I'm going to get the best person in the world for free.
Yeah, you're
It's
totally right.
duh.
It's true. And then there was how much worse, because I also went to Suffolk.
Yeah.
How much worse when you could just tell that the teacher doesn't even care.
Oh,
Like, it's not just that you barely have credibility.
Yeah.
You also simultaneously don't give a shit about anything that's happening right now.
yeah. Well, I think that one of the worst things, it was, all right, so it was good in a way, but it was bad at the time it happened. So one of my teachers was, she came in one day and she was like writing shit on the board, and like I was like nosy, so I go, I'm like, oh, you know, like looking at her book, like what is she writing? Because she like kept looking in a book and then writing on the board, and looking in a book and writing on the board. So I go over there, I look at the book, and it's fucking Becoming a Supple Leopard, like Kelly Starrett, and I read that like that's fucking the Bible for me. Like I read that cover to cover like 3 or 4 times. So like I knew everything in that book, and I'm like, oh, so like what are we learning today? And she's like, oh, I just found this book. It's like, I'm like, all right, see you later. I'll be here next week. Like I'm not gonna learn from you, who literally just learned it this week.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I read this book 2 years ago. Like
Yeah.
I'm like this is a prime example of why I fucking hate Suffolk.
Yeah, that is
you
a
know?
total. Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know, like, but like, I mean, I guess it's good in the sense that she's like bettering herself, and like, oh, she learned something like that's actually like up to date, you know, not from the fucking 80s.
Right.
And so I mean, it's good in that sense, but I was just like, I was an asshole back
It's
then.
a rough
I'm like,
standard,
I'm like,
though.
I'm not fucking sitting here listening to you who literally just learned something.
Your YouTube review.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that, you know. So I was like, I'll see you on Monday.
And it's harsh too, because you know how much you paid in order to be in that class
Right,
that
yeah,
day.
that's another
and get
thing.
vetted
Exactly.
by an
And it's
apathetic
like,
person.
it's like if this is the case, I could have just bought this $50 fucking book on Amazon.
Yeah.
And read it cover to cover and not came here.
Yeah.
It's like, and spent $3,000 for the year. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's
You're
just
totally
like,
right.
Yeah, Suffolk was hard.
That's it, and that's the reason that it's hard. It's demotivating. That's
Yeah.
why it's hard. You're there and you're like, yeah, you're there and you have a really, really apathetic student body that is also sort of not probably where you want to be.
Yeah, so the other hard thing about going to Suffolk was I was working at the time, like as a trainer. Like I was working at Infinity Sports Performance, and I had a couple of my own clients at the time, but I was mainly working at Infinity, and it's just like this is not how real fucking shit works. Like you said before, like we're not doing calipers. I'm not measuring fucking body fat and stuff like that. And like, you know, like especially being a sports performance like coach,
Right.
it's like we're
You
not
got
doing
plenty of metrics. We don't need to do that.
So when you go to Suffolk, it's like very tailored to personal training, like general population personal training. So it's like for me, it's funny because I actually when we did like the training, like did you go to Suffolk for the fitness?
No.
Oh, all right.
No.
So at like the last semester, it's basically like if you're like you know, you learn everything, and then they give you clients who they basically sign up for a gym class. That gym class is called like Training 101.
Okay.
I'm the trainer,
Yeah.
and they get a personal trainer for the semester.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there was like 3 extra kids, and she's like, "Does anyone want a group of 3?" And I'm like, "I'll do it."
Yeah.
You know, and then it ended up being 3 athletes. So the funniest thing.
Yeah.
You know, and because she always used to like I don't think she ever took points off, but like you could tell like she fucking hated me because of like the way I would write my workouts, like not for general public people.
Yeah.
Like I'm tailoring the shit to athletes because that's who I work with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So then like the last semester when I got 3 athletes, she was like fucking pissed.
Yeah.
Like,
The layup.
yeah. So, but like, that's another thing. Like I was saying, like I was currently working as a trainer, going to school, learning about training that didn't even apply to what I was actually working in, you know? So you had like all these other fucking kids who just came out of high school who like some of them, I don't even think they ever stepped foot in a gym before, or maybe they went once and were like, oh, I could do this for the rest of my life. Like, let me sign up at Suffolk, you know?
Oh my God.
So it's like me being like, not to toot my own horn, but me being a good coach in a classroom full of people who don't even know if they are a coach. You know what I'm saying?
Totally,
so it's like
totally.
I'm on a total different brain length, you know. Like I felt like I had more in common with the teachers than the students.
Yeah.
You know, because I was also like going back to school. I was like I don't know, 24. I mean, I went to Suffolk for quite a while.
Yeah,
but
I took a while too, bro.
But I don't know. I was like 24, 25, right? Everybody else in my class was like 18, 19, maybe
Totally.
21,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like some of my teachers were like 35. And I'm like, well, I'm like, I feel like more at home and like I had better conversations with the teachers than like all the fucking other idiots in my class.
Yeah, totally.
You know, so it was like, I was like very alone to myself, like didn't fucking talk to anyone. I was there to like get my work done.
Yep.
I mean, not even get my work done. I was there to like, just show up, get my grade and leave.
Right.
You know, like, cause I already had my training certificate. Like it was just, it wasn't.
Yeah, that's a confusing program.
Yeah.
That's a pretty confusing one.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times that even if we don't, when you go to a big gym anyway, not that you were doing that, but if you do go to a big gym, they only want your cert.
Right. They don't give a shit
they don't need
about
the rest.
anything.
Yeah, they don't need any of this.
Yeah. Well, I was hired at LA Fitness when I first got my training certificate in like, I don't know, whatever that says up there.
ISSA?
Yeah, ISSA,
yeah,
like 2012 or something.
Oh, awesome.
And when Port Jeff first opened, I got hired there, and I actually quit on the first day. I mean, I can go into story about that, but
Wait, what was Port Jeff?
yeah,
What Port Jeff? What, LA?
LA Fitness.
When I got started, I was at Port Jeff, New York Sports Club, Port Jeff
really?
Station.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but like that was like the only criteria. They're like, oh, do you have a certification? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, all right, cool. Like, here,
Done.
fill this paper out and you're hired.
Yeah.
I'm like, like, really? That's it? You know? So it's like, yeah. I mean, I just don't. I don't know. I fucking hate Suffolk. I don't think they did a good job, and especially for. I think some of them did a good job. Like I had a couple, like 2 teachers in particular. I hope they actually listen to this once in their life.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Frank Dolan. Do you know Dolan? He runs what is it? Fitness for All, or it's somewhere. I think it's an Islip.
I've heard of that gym, but I don't know the individual.
Yeah. So he's actually, I mean, he was a great teacher. He was like a Nike trainer. So like, you know how Nike has like their app, and then like if you email them a question, like he's one of like, I think like say 7 of their head trainers who answer all their questions.
Wow.
So he's like legit as fuck. Like he has his own gym. He's a head Nike trainer. Like he's what's that Nike place in the city? It's like on the rooftop.
Okay, I'm not
You
gonna
know
be
what I'm
able to know
talking
this,
about?
but I know what you're talking about.
Like all like crazy athletes take all those like cool pictures with the city in the background.
Yeah.
Like he's had like hundreds of people on that field. Like it was in the PowerPoint in class, and he was showing us like all the pictures and stuff. Like he's done some crazy shit. Like so he was like a legit, like I said, owned his own business, worked for Nike, was a teacher, you know, and then Kushner was another like dope teacher.
Yeah.
He did facility management. So like he basically taught us how to run a facility. Like if you were like say the manager of LA Fitness, you know, and he ran strength and conditioning in the fucking hockey place. What's it called? Was it the arena? No, the rinks.
That too.
The ice hockey rinks. So like he used to own the sports, you know, strength and performance place inside the rinks. So he had his own gym. He ran it for I think it was like 20 years. He owns right now a pulmonary rehab place. Not really sure where it is, but he like so he's like in the field. You know what I'm saying? Like then I had like some other people who, you know, they had like 2 or 3 clients, were kind of training on the side of being a teacher. But like your job's a teacher. It's not being a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Like those other 2 teachers, their jobs were helping people.
Yeah.
You know? And then being a teacher was just a different way of helping people.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
Versus like the people who are teachers, they're just there to teach you.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So it's like they're not like in the trenches like working.
Totally.
You know? So like
Totally.
they were kind of like teaching us like some outdated things. Like some things I'm like, I don't really know how I feel about that. You know, like there's this thing called science that kind of
you should rely on occasionally.
Yeah. So like there was a lot of, you know, I'm just an asshole.
Yeah.
So that was a long version of I'm an asshole.
Well, it is disappointing there though. And if I think back to like before I knew the name, like I was for Werewolf University, when I was going to school and I just got out of Suffolk, but you know, I mentioned my buddy passed away. I didn't really hold my grades together that great during that period of time.
Yeah,
like
understandable.
I didn't relapse on alcohol or drugs or anything stupid like that. But at the same time, like I was inside, I was totally fucking destroyed.
Yeah.
So I totally nosedived on my grades. Then I graduated. I got the pat on my back from Suffolk, and then I just got below any GPA for any other school. And I'm just like, wow, maybe I just fucked my life up. And then I went to this Delphi University, I guess, interview thing. And they gave me in. And I was in that week, that semester. Bro, I didn't do it the right way back then. I stopped working out, unfortunately. I was like barely eating. I was eating berries and shit. And I'm like 6'2". I went down to 140 pounds.
Damn.
Insane when I see a photo of that. And I got like a stellar grades. I did all this shit that I'd never done before because I felt like I was fighting for my life. Mm-hmm. I felt like if I didn't get that GPA up, I was never going to have the ability. And let's also be honest that like they brainwash us that degrees are more important than they are.
Yeah.
But at the time I didn't
have one.
Yeah, that's how I felt at the time. So I got that horrible like face chasing me, telling me to do that. But get this, at the end of that one semester with the glory days, I have a financial aid hiccup and I can't go back. I can't go back at all. And immediately, like, I'm confronting my deceased buddy, and I'm feeling like a loser again. And I'm feeling like I couldn't go back to my gym thing because I felt like I didn't deserve that yet. Mm-hmm. I felt like I needed to prove myself in a new domain. Otherwise, I was going to be irresponsible to my potential in this other department. And what I ended up really doing is I basically signed up right there and said, look, and this was like 2013, what I have forged in gym-based habits, it's either going to serve me right now or I'm going to fucking die trying. And I basically ended up saying I'm going to teach myself like 5 categories, sort of like you would get classes in a semester. Mm-hmm. And then in these 5 categories, I am going to die trying. I'm going to teach myself in a predictable way. Like I actually love the Abraham Lincoln quote. I may walk slowly, but I never walk backwards. I never take a step back.
That's a great one.
Each week if I can just do my basic homework or whatever the fuck, I can absolutely probably do a better job than the idiots in Suffolk in the past.
Yep.
Because, I mean, I think maybe Mark Twain, I'm not a huge fan, but he said something about like the only effing education that matters is self-education. And it's true.
It's true.
Because if you go to this formalized education with an apathetic person who barely has any credibility and they teach you all theory, no application, like it's only society who pretends to care about that.
Right.
You, the individual, are not given as impactful, meaningful change as jiu-jitsu has probably already been for you.
Oh, 100%.
Or this guy over here, probably like cycling, or whatever the fuck it is, because it's exertion. And exertion is a personal journey. And you don't have to rely on this, like, either like this golden calf, which is the dude on stage who's like, you should believe in yourself, etc. And only when I tell you, like Tony Robbins type of person, who's not doing that on purpose. I don't blame him. But either you experience that, or you experience a half-assed version of that in the form of checking the boxes for a formal institution, and they're both ripoffs.
Yeah.
The only thing that matters is pouring your own heart, soul, blood, and sweat into something and seeing what occurs when that happens. Everything else is a second rate. Everything else is a ripoff on a yard sale blanket.
Yeah, and I mean, that's another thing. Even, like, talking about grades, like learning, that matters. Like, 100%. Like, don't get me wrong, I learned things at Suffolk, but it was the grades that I didn't give a shit about. Like,
right.
Like and like
especially
even,
with that story you shared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even me and my girlfriend, we both went to Suffolk, right? That's where we met. And we met in A&P, I think, or chemistry. One of those. We had 2 classes together.
Yeah.
So but like regardless, she would study for fucking hours and hours and hours. And like she still does. I mean, not anymore. She just graduated last week from nursing.
Nice.
But like she, like even now she's studying for NCLEX and like she's studying for hours and hours and hours, and like that's obviously a different story because you have to pass, like you have to get a degree and shit like that. But like there's people who were in fitness programs studying for hours and like coming in complaining, and they're like, "What'd you get on the test?" And I'm like, "I got a fucking 70."
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, like, oh my god, like, and I'm like, but guess what? I went to work last night and I fucking trained people. Like it doesn't fucking matter. It does not matter your grades. So like C's get degrees. Like I want to get that tattooed on me.
Yeah,
because, like it's just so fucking. It's so dumb how people are like so butthurt about like, oh, I got a 98. It's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Like I want to tell those people to go fuck themselves every single time they say that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like. And speaking about degrees, that was another thing that pissed me off about Suffolk was, I mean, all right, I went for like fucking 6 years or whatever, but whatever. I got a 2-year degree in 6 years, right?
Yeah.
PhD status. Yeah. And I get my degree in the mail. It doesn't even fucking say fitness specialist on it.
What does it say?
Associates.
What?
It says congratulations or whatever. I threw it out. Fuck that thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, are you like? I literally just spent all this money, this time, wasted time to fucking come here, and you came and write my degree name on the certificate. Like,
oh my god.
And then so I called up one day and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, you guys gave me the wrong degree. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, she's like, it has the wrong name. I'm like, no, it has my name on it. I'm like, but it says associates in science. She's like, yeah, everybody gets that. I'm like, you cheap fucks give everybody the same fucking degree.
Wow,
Like that's so that's
Yeah.
bullshit. I'm like, I literally just like
Yeah. Oh my god.
I went. The only reason why I went to Suffolk is so I have the fucking degree on my wall and it says fitness specialist.
And now yeah,
And he doesn't.
Yeah. Brandon Remy, big idiot.
Yeah,
Like, I'll
yeah,
just put-
basically, yeah, basically, that's all it should say. But I was so fucking pissed that day when I got that degree in the mail. I called them around. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
Like literally, I just spent all this money and you just print out the same degree for everyone?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's so ridiculous.
So if you're going to Suffolk and you're thinking about getting a degree or you want a degree that has your degree actually on it, go to a different fucking school.
Yeah, choose carefully. Because
Yeah.
like I mentioned, like the beginning when I was 17, I was probably like balancing maybe horrible life decisions that would make my life go horrible and good life decisions that would be probably make my life go even better than it is right now, but I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And I remember I didn't even take my SATs. Other people were like, how did you even get out of that? And I don't know. Like, I fucking really don't know.
Yeah.
I worked a shitload in high school as a personal trainer. I was like every single moment that I could be at the gym, I was pretty much at the gym. And that was like the only way. Like anything less, and I would probably. I mean, I hated high school, so
Yeah.
like, I mean, it was like a total waste of time, like slavery for something I don't respect even.
Yeah.
And so like that grinding, horrible, nagging feeling can either get really, really horrible for a person to hold that in their heart, or really good if you're like willing to put that out into the world and try your best and stuff.
Yeah.
But I wasn't doing my SAT, and I didn't. And so I basically
I bombed my
You
SAT.
bombed it? You did it?
Terrible. I think I got like a 1200 on all 3 parts.
I don't even know what that means.
Like most people like think that 1200 is good on 2 parts.
Okay.
No, I got it on
Yeah.
all 3. Like all 3. And then actually it's funny because I signed up for the ACT and then I had a wrestling tournament that weekend, so I didn't go to my
Didn't go.
ACT.
Yeah.
And I fucking I ended up going to the hospital. I dislocated my finger. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's fucking.
And that's how we end up at Suffolk.
Yeah, and that's how. Yeah, exactly. I actually went away to school for the first semester. I went to SUNY Delhi, upstate. I went for environmental science, and then it's a long story, but
Yeah.
basically I just same thing as stuff. Like I wasn't going to class. Like I was not that I was partying or anything, because like I didn't really party that much at that time. I mean I don't now at all, but it wasn't like I wasn't doing bad because of partying. I was doing bad because I wasn't going to class and I was just going to the gym and like reading bodybuilding.com. You know, like, the whole
classic.
fucking,
I know,
exactly.
right, exactly.
So like the one day my roommate was like, bro, he's like, you know, you can like go to school for this, like to be a trainer. I'm like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. I'm like, I've been wasting my whole life, like just wasted. So then I actually went back to Suffolk, and then I actually didn't go straight into the fitness program. I went to the dietetics, like nutrition. Went through that first semester, and then going into the second semester, I was gonna have to do clinicals, and I could like they're making me take all these like vaccines and immunizations and shots, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So then that's when I went to the fitness program. So I had like a year before me going into, well, a couple years before, but like a full year of school before me going into fitness. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably spent an even amount, if I think about it, though, in my like NASM certifications and all of the ones that are like commissioned through the fitness bodies.
Yeah.
Like for a while there, like I think a lot of coaches go through that moment where you think to yourself that if I expand my capability of working with specialty clients who are typically not getting the coaching and training that they need, like people who are formerly injured, senior citizens, morbidly obese, children, they typically have another certification or two that helps us address those needs.
Yeah.
But wow, is that a rabbit hole?
Oh yeah.
So you start that off, and then you end up, you're like, oh yeah, like if I buy it right now and I bundle them together, I'll save $200 on my $1,400 purchase over 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Over 12 months at least.
Yeah, to make like, I mean, if you're working at LA Fitness, it's like $12 an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably more now, but I mean, that's what it was like.
They kind of all screw you.
Yeah,
They do.
Yeah, they fuck you.
They really do.
Yeah,
I
terrible.
remember at the beginning, very beginning, 2007, the biggest thing I'm trying to figure out is how LA and New York Sports Club differ. And the way that I think I understood it back then was that LA will feed you a client and give you less commission. New York Sports Club will feed you nothing and give you the potential to make more commission.
Yeah.
But in both scenarios,
it's a lose-lose.
This is terrible. This is really terrible.
I mean, well, that's like, so, I mean, I haven't put this out there, but I was thinking about opening a gym. Like, I guess it would have been like January, like now. Like we would have moved in and everything. But like just the whole, there was a couple reasons why I didn't. Corona, because who the fuck knows if we're going to get shut down again and all that, especially being in New York. It's like the worst place to live. I mean, not worst place, but like
right now you probably feel that way. Yeah, exactly.
So that was a big factor, just not knowing, like, am I going to get shut down? Like, me personally, I'd be like the guy fucking in Jersey with a beard.
Yeah,
like, fuck you guys.
Right. Ian Smith.
Like, Ian Smith. Like, that is like that is me 100%. Like, fuck you. Good luck. Come knock on my door, motherfucker. Like, have fun.
Right.
You know? So that was also, like, I didn't want to be that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get to
Ups
that
and
stage.
downs on that. Yeah.
And then just like, it's a good setup I have here now because I have everything I need. Like we were talking before, it's a small little space, but I have everything I need. And I make all my money. I don't have to pay, $1,500 just to say, hey, I own RemyFIT.
Yeah, it's my brick and mortar. Yeah,
right, exactly. Like, this is my business.
And you guys can come tell me how to run it, when I should close it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what a treat.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's just like I pulled back on that one. I didn't pull the trigger. So, and then that's when I really was like, well, if I'm not going to do that, I have to do something. And then the podcast came about.
Well, I think another smart one for you would be that you have so many contacts and they have their own mixed martial arts gyms and you have your own gear that can usually fit in your truck.
Yeah.
So even if you had like the freaking Brandon Remy's Blood Carnival and you go to their spot and you either like you do it like training conditioning and you take their spot for that.
Yeah.
Or even if you host tournaments or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the brand, you have the skill, you have the goods, you got the gear, and they have the venue. So it's almost like, why flip any amount of nickels and quarters towards a totally independent location? Like you could help your boys and build that grassroots community that you're already involved in,
right?
Rather than starting a new little version of Hawaii in like Central Islip so that your rent is reasonable.
Yeah.
And now you gotta deal with all this shit.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, that's actually one thing I was gonna do. So I was like, that's my problem, right? We'll talk about me now.
Yeah.
We'll talk about my problems. So me as a coach, right? I have so many different areas I'm interested in, whether it be like hunting, fishing, obviously, like that whole outdoorsy thing, jiu-jitsu, working out, like nutrition, like health, fitness, so just like a lot of different things that don't necessarily like cross paths.
Right. Yeah. Fall under one umbrella.
Yeah. Right. Some people they do, like me, but like a lot of people, like it's hard to find somebody who hunts, fishes, does jiu-jitsu, like eats health. It's just like, all right, well, it's like now you're left with two people in the world.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, my idea was to take the whole 023, like systematic approach.
Yeah.
And come up with, so basically I have the online program called Unfuck Yourself, right? And I wanted to do that in person at different gyms, at different jiu-jitsu gyms.
Yeah, okay.
So it wouldn't be me necessarily saying like, hey, I'm Brandon Remy, I'm going to teach you jiu-jitsu, because like, let's face it, I'm a blue belt. Like, it's not like, I mean, I guess I could teach white belts, but I'm not there yet, right?
Okay,
I'm not
a
black belt jiu-jitsu ready to coach. So what my idea was to teach basically like the 023 curriculum, right? Movement, mindset, sleep, nutrition, right? Now, how can those 4 pillars of performance basically upgrade your jiu-jitsu, or, it could have been kickboxing or MMA, a bunch of different gyms, like combat athletes. I was going to try and do like high school wrestling, teams and stuff like that. But then fucking Corona came and kind of fucked all that up. Like, obviously, I mean, you could get away with it, but it's like, I know a lot of people are either closing gyms down or like not allowing new members. Like, it's just, their existing members training. A lot of places are, painting their windows and training still, it's like, let's face it, like, the people in jiu-jitsu are not just gonna be like, oh, okay, yeah, take it all away. Sure, we won't ever train again. Like, that's literally the reason why I went out and bought mats. So I can host practice at my house. Like, I've had, 4 or 5 friends here, and we just come and train, and it's like, that's what it has to be for right now. But I'm not going to sit here and stop training, so it would have been hard to just pull that off in person right now. So I'm kind of hoping once Corona fizzles down a little bit, I'll be able to kind of pick that back up and start to travel. But then also with the podcast and stuff like that, it could all eventually mesh together. But that was actually my route, was to try and do some sort of in-person like seminar, like a 2-hour workshop at different gyms and stuff like that. And like I said, not talk about jiu-jitsu, but talk about things outside of the gym, like the jiu-jitsu gym, not necessarily like the weight gym, but things that you can do outside of that to help you succeed in jiu-jitsu or MMA,
totally.
I was gonna say I don't know.
You know what I'd be interested in seeing? If at the beginning of your seminar, if you had like a very light feedback sheet that asked somebody sort of like rate your top trait, rate your weakest trait out of mindset, rest, nutrition, and fitness.
That's a good one.
And just check the self-awareness of your customers. Right. Check the self-awareness of your fighters. They're probably not going to call training their weakest.
No.
Probably, hopefully, maybe they're strongest in most cases.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe somebody is going to be like, I sleep like shit. Maybe somebody's going to be like, you got me on my cheesecakes, vodka, and Big Macs. Or maybe somebody's going to be honest with you and be like, look, I'm stressed the fuck out and I don't know what the fuck to do. So jiu-jitsu is like satisfying more than you might have known if you didn't ask a question like that.
Oh, 100%.
And if you get that a shit ton, you actually know how to
coach them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's gold. I'm going to definitely use that. I got to make up something.
Because if you were tightening your eclipse here, it's pretty much the other 23 hours for fighters.
Yeah.
So it's like you guys aren't seeing how much goes into Anderson Silva that is not in YouTube fight videos.
Right, exactly.
Stop watching that.
Exactly.
Like there's a specific value to what you're doing, but if you want to go further, you would need Unfuck Yourself.
Yeah, which I think a lot of fighters are now actually turning towards.
Yeah.
Like if you think about like Conor McGregor with the McGregor
Ido Portal.
Fast. Yeah, Ido Portal.
Yeah.
Now he's got his, I think it's McGregor Fast. Is like his whole like training, I guess system. If you want to call it, whatever.
Yeah.
I really haven't looked into it, but I know he's doing less like hard sparring. Like even Cowboy Cerrone, like he's a big fan of not sparring. In training camps, like his idea, and even Max Holloway, like the other night, he hasn't sparred the last 2 fights.
Wow.
And so this past fight, he fucking dominated. But the fight before that, he kind of got robbed. I mean, personally, I think. But regardless, he put up a great fucking show. And for both of those fights, he hasn't sparred. It's been like, I'm sure he's sparred, but not like kill or be killed sparred. Totally. Like, he saves that for fight night. And like same thing with Cerrone. And he was saying how if you know how to fight, like it's like fighting is in you, it's not like, you can learn it, but it's inside of you, and when you go to practice, you're just sharpening skills, and then you shouldn't be like going balls to the wall every single day. Just like 023, we learn about rest, recovery, all these other things. And that's like a big part of it is, take some days off, like rest sometimes. Like it's not, in the gym every single day grinding hard, and it gets some people better. But then when you do things like intuitively, when you think scientifically, and we learn about rest, recovery, nutrition. Like now, those idiots who just run through the wall every single day, they don't seem so smart.
Totally.
They look like why are those fucking idiots running through the wall?
Right.
So I think I think it's gonna help me personally, like trickle down effect, like where Conor McGregor, the fucking best of the best, is doing it. Max Holloway is doing it. So now it's gonna trickle down to the local gyms. Like, oh, I saw so and so who's doing Ido Portal movement-based training, it's like, what is that about? I think it's going to start to get the amateurs and, semi-professional, low-level professional fighters, like, into that headspace of, like, thinking of outside-of-the-box things that are going to help them on the mat or in the ring or octagon, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And even if I was joking with my name of, like, Brandon Remy's Blood Carnival, you definitely could still go there with some of your clubs and stuff, like your mace or whatever.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And just show people, like, guys, if you, because this is what I would say too. I was a kickboxing instructor. I had worked with a Golden Gloves boxing instructor who was a great mentor to me, but I wouldn't really consider myself an MMA guy by any way. I would love to do more, but my schedule right now is insane, as you know already.
Yeah.
But I'll get there one day. But I still was a coach, and I certainly have MMA conditioning specializations. And the biggest thing that I would say is if you want to learn jiu-jitsu, you really should continue going to your coach or find a coach that works for you for the specific technical skills in any mixed martial arts approach that you ever wanted to learn. Just like I can't teach you capoeira. That's crazy.
Right.
However, there are consistent fitness fundamentals that are going to allow you to resist injury, get the most out of your performance, and based on how you answer the first question about where you're getting your technical training, any coach who is really mindful in their subject matter can dig through the massive ocean of awareness that you have in terms of the tools that the gym offers and that we can go beyond the gym to find. All of those things can be applied in a more narrow, focused highway for the athlete. And that combination is everything. So for you to go into your current places where you're tight with the people of Lima and Breathe and Freedom and all of these great places, they have the technical stuff on lockdown, and they're masters at what they do. And as you mentioned, you're the tactical hybrid, where you're not like, I only listen to this sensei, only him. Like, okay, guy, whatever, dude. But everybody's got different fucking approaches, and at the end of the day, you're probably gonna wish that you listen to the wisdom of just more than one person. You bring an entirely different element to your own community. And by going in there and saying, hey, guys, I know that some of you don't want to hear it because you love how it feels to get your shoulder fucking ripped out of your fucking socket.
Yeah.
But the rest of you, I'm here to show you what science says about this whole kill a man with your bare hands thing. And then people will they'll either take it or they'll sit there like idiots.
Yep.
But if you want, here's the thing with all this stuff. Personal development's like this too. Big difference between the concept in your mind between self-help and personal development. Self-help makes some people think that they're like picking themselves up off the ground in a rain puddle and that you're like a piece of shit until you do it.
It's the way you think about it.
It is the way you think about it. And I stay away from those words to respect people's perception, but it's a flawed perception.
Yep.
Whereas personal development this is an ongoing process. I don't care if you are like Michael Phelps mixed with like American Sniper, like the perfect person in whatever way. You still got work to do because everybody does.
Right.
And if you accept that, like most warriors and fighters do, because it's an ongoing process, and if you think you're the best, go fucking fight the best and see how it goes. There's an ongoing process, and the greatest thing that somebody who really gives a shit about anything should do is be open and welcome to that wisdom. And you already have so many people who know you know your stuff and know that you're amazing at compressing your massive amount of information to the perfect bite for the fighter that day. That's huge. So even if you didn't take on like a monthly bill to Andrew Cuomo to have a fucking place in Bayport, what a crazy idea if you think about it. Versus that, even if you did stay in your fitness scope of practice for an in-person conference, that stands on its own. But I know I also mentioned to you that another way of going in addition to unfuck yourself for somebody like you would be like the sovereign citizen, the sovereign civilian, and just go off the grid and put your fucking walls up and have an ecosystem of chickens that are like, hey, Brandon.
Yep.
Like you got everything going. You're like a small state.
Yeah, no, I like, and see, like that's what I was kind of getting at before is that I have so many different avenues that like I'm interested in, that I'm good at, that like works well for my lifestyle. And now it's, how do I stitch all that shit together and, and come up with whether it's one program or multiple programs, and just like really just get all that information out to the world, like we were talking about before.
Totally.
How do we help people, and it's by getting it out there.
Totally.
Yeah. All right.
It's daunting at the beginning. It's daunting, and that's why you got to give so much credit to the O23 gang, because you're essentially saying you're sitting down on day one and you're deciding how do we build a curriculum that pretty much works for all of the students all of the time.
Yep.
That's why that's daunting.
Yeah.
Because when you reduce the risk of attrition, of them dropping out themselves, or when you reduce the risk of them misinterpreting what you say or something like that, when you reduce the risk in such a successful way as they've done, you're really left with a bulletproof curriculum. And now you get to bring people down a bulletproof curriculum. So, for example, if Unfuck Yourself is its own highway, and just going with my shit there for you, Sovereign Civilian is its own highway, you have really, really two energized, and your third one even could be the one specifically for fighters. You actually have three different avenues, all of which requiring kind of what the O23 gang did, which is where you melt down your intentions and you make this curriculum or this periodized development program that works for all of your clients all of the time. And even though that's, I mean, really, that's kind of where my vision is, to help people like that, to stitch it together, which is why I willingly put myself through insane shit. And I just say, let's see if we can go more ridiculous by making this have nothing to do with everything else that I've got going on. And the secret to that is that when I force myself to learn something seemingly unrelated, what I'm actually doing is I'm hoping that there's a margin that comes from this weird integration of shit. So like if I have like a problem that goes on with my microphone and I think to myself, wow, I wonder if this applies in any way to the problem that I'm running into with my computer microphone on this completely unrelated task. More often than not, I can find some fruit in there. I can say like, holy shit, this mistake that is like burning me up right now, it actually gives me a lot of epiphany about how I should do the other shit more effectively.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how it works that way. Like, I mean, like whether you believe in God and that I'm supposed to do this as like destiny kicking my own ass until I learn all my shit and then I'm rock solid, or if through free will I'm creating growth in my own life at a faster rate than is possible, because everybody would tell me this is impossible. Everybody who's looking over the amount of shit, like people don't believe in New Year's resolutions anymore for whatever reason. People are like, nope, I failed 4 years, so now I'm never going to do it again. I'm big on this, actually. Yeah. When I have the New Year's coming, I set this all year. It's not like it's a special, magnificent day that like, oh my God, the guardian angel fairy is here. But New Year's is a solid opportunity for me to say, like 2020 was a super special fucking year. All this shit, all this like garbage, shadowy garbage that like holds me the hell down. Let's just ditch that to the best of our ability. And when I can do that and create space in my life, I am left with a void that's got to be filled. I got all this extra time and focus and all that shit. And I'm the number one guy to say, all right, time to strap myself to a fucking Ferrari and a Dodge Viper and make them drive in different directions. And let's see what I learn from that process. And I'm doing that because if I can do that with all of the ridiculous stuff that's all over the place and still find such fruitful benefits of it, anybody who has seemingly unrelated customers who you can bring value to, just like what you just described, 3 different target markets, general population who wants to enjoy their health and develop a framework to unfuck themselves, fighters who love what they do so much and so intelligently that they don't want to get their joints ripped apart so that they feel like they're 80 years old when they're 40 years old, and people who are tired of a super oppressive central set of forces that force you to be overly dependent on King Cullen and shit, where you easily could have your own ecosystem more in line with the traditional human being. These are 3 people. There's like a meme. There's like Philip J. Fry. He's like, shut up and take my money. They're like, shut up, Brandon. Like give me the product, Brandon. Take my money. And they're all kind of waiting for you. And it's one of those things where like when we get pissed off at our microphones or our camera or you know, kettlebell's pretty damn reliable. You can't get pissed off at a kettlebell. But what all these things that can go wrong as we go about our hero's journey, even though they're annoying as fuck, you've got to think about that person who's going, please, Brandon, I really, really want that. I really want you to finish your course and offer your course because I'm waiting for you. Yep. And it's always got to be on your mind at some level, because that's the only way you're ever going to have the motivation to do that next level shit.
Yeah, it's definitely a driving factor, you know, having people like, even with the podcast, like people reach out to me like, oh, I love that episode. Like it was good. You know, I'm like, oh shit, wow, people actually listen. You know?
That's amazing. Making that impact makes it 1,000% worth it. Yeah. And that's exactly what it would be like one day when somebody or when more people have gone through the Unfuck Yourself program and they're like, yo, Brandon, like I was in a mess. I wasn't telling you what my life was really like before I started that coaching program. You really did help me unfuck myself. And now here I stand, unfucked. And I'm telling my friends about it, and it's got to be a really cool testimonial.
No, definitely.
Like, he really did unfuck me.
That'll be a good one. That'll be a good one. I'm waiting for that one. All right, so we're about a little over an hour and a half. Anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
Man, if you got whether you're a coach or if you're just somebody out there who is believing in yourself this year, it's way too early into this year to give up on yourself. Even though we got crazy stuff going on. Please imagine what would occur if you just let these next 11 months look like what you wanted 2020 to look like before shit got all crazy. Yeah. If you're a listener in Remy Radio and if you can see that any of the things that we're talking about apply to you, please, for the love of God and for the people who you will eventually serve one day, this is an amazing opportunity and a great time to just fucking keep going. Just make it happen and get to that next level, because eventually there's going to be a lot of people who will be really glad you did.
Yep. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Just, get it done.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Change the ecosystem one wolf at a time.
Exactly. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up there. Do you want to just give a shout out to yourself, plug all the stuff?
Hey guys, if you're interested, you can check out more information at Werewolf University or werewolfpersonaltraining.com. And I am super, super excited. If you are already a Remy client, though, don't go on my personal training website. You stay where you're at. But if you're interested in checking it out, go check out Werewolf University. And I'm super honored and excited to be on Remy Radio today. Thank you, bro.
No, thank you. And last but not least, Instagram.
Instagram, you can find me at my name, Wade K. Wicks. Or if you are just looking for my personal training avatar is Werewolf Wade. And then you'll never see my real life. Only my gym stuff.
All right, that does it. Another episode. Peace out.
Peace.
And that does it for another episode of RemyFIT Radio. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed listening, and if you think I can add any value to someone else, please like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to learn more or you are interested in my online lifestyle optimization course, head over to my website, www.remyfithp.com, and follow me on Instagram at BRemyFit.